Alright, so I just saw Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And, I'm going to be honest. I'm sorry to Chris Wan. I know he's a big Godzilla fan. And, I'm a pretty big Godzilla fan, too. I enjoy the movies. My best friend, actually, is a super big Godzilla fan. He's seen all the movies. And I went with him to see Godzilla, King of Monsters. And when the movie ended, we looked at each other. And he said, that was shit. And I had to agree with him. The movie was very bad. Like, it was extremely bad. One of the biggest disappointments of the year for me. The story was pretty much non-existent. The characters were pretty flat. There was no standout performances in the movie. Tywin Lannister was in it. And he just sounded like he was saying some lines from Game of Thrones, like he really didn't have much of a character. I didn't even know, who he was. I don't even know his name. I don't even think they ever said his name in the movie. So I had no idea who he was. And the fucking family story they had in this movie was so bad. It was so cringy. The kid that you had to follow through most of the movie looked like a little boy. I thought it was a little boy most of the movie. It turns out it was a little girl. Really cringy, crying half the time, reaching out to touch Mothra, it was just really not good. It's just really not good. And to anybody who thinks Game of Thrones season 8 had bad writing, go watch this Godzilla film, all right, and then you'll have a much bigger appreciation for Game of Thrones. This is unacceptable. I was expecting way more out of this movie. Especially after Garth Edwards' Godzilla 2014, which I actually rewatched the day before seeing this new Godzilla film. And I cannot stress enough how much better Godzilla 2014 was. Just by every metric, acting, writing, cinematography, everything was much, much better in that first Godzilla film. And there was a tone, there was a mystique to the movie because they kept hiding Godzilla and stuff, but it felt serious, It felt like they were taking the character deadly serious. Godzilla wasn't just a spectacle in the movie. He was something to be afraid of, It was something to worry about. In this new movie, King of Monsters, the only good thing in the movie is the action. And even the action was putting me to sleep because I didn't care about what was happening. And there was a lot of action. We're talking probably every 15 minutes there was an action sequence. At least that's what it felt like. It felt like there was 4 or 5 big action sequences that were long as fuck. But that's essentially what this movie is. And I took the Comic Movie Mark's advice. I watched the movie, under the influence. Not gonna lie. I was preparing for, not the best movie because Matt from Comic Movie Mark said, he's very adamant about it. He said that there was a lot of bad writing in the film. There's a lot of bad lines and stuff. And, I was willing to give the movie a chance because it's Godzilla. The majority of Godzilla films have horrible human stories. That's just a running theme with Godzilla. It's the humans are always the worst part in the movies. And you just want to get back to Godzilla. But this movie is probably the worst. Out of every Godzilla movie I've ever seen, this is probably the worst human story that has gone with a Godzilla film. And I will be talking a little bit spoilers in here, so if you haven't seen the movie, tough shit. I'm going to spoil some stuff. But one of the big pivotal moments in the movie where I totally checked out, I totally gave up on the movie, really. It came around the halfway point of the movie, and it's when the mother, I can't remember her name because I can't remember any of the characters' names. But the mother, she turns on everybody and becomes super evil and releases King Ghidorah because her thinking is that if she releases the monsters, they'll kill each other and they'll kill off half the human population, and it will help the environment and there'll be less humans. And that's her whole reasoning. and it's dumb as fuck. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. She tried to use that Thanos logic, which already is pretty fucking dumb, because we've already proven that overpopulation is not really a big deal. Humans have found a way to deal with it, you know? But she uses that excuse to release King Ghidorah, the fucking one alien monster that can destroy the whole planet. And I almost fell out of my seat because it was just so fucking dumb, her reasoning. There's even a shot where, like, it shows a nuclear reactor and smoke coming out of the top of it, and she's like, we pollute the environment. And I almost laughed out loud. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about, pollute the environment? Do you know nuclear power plants give off 0 carbon emissions? Do you know they're the safest thing to the environment? It's the cleanest form of energy, nuclear power plants, and she uses it as an example of how we're polluting the environment. And I almost fucking fell out of my seat. Like, I was so shocked that the writers put in 0 effort into researching anything, you know? They just, like, use emotion, you know, like, there's overpopulation, we're polluting with nuclear reactors. It's like the dumbest thing you've ever seen. And by that point, I kind of checked out the movie, because I'm like, well, if the writers don't really care about what they're writing, you know, if they really don't want to put in any effort into researching this shit, then why should I care? You know, like, why should I put my effort into caring about this movie? And the tone from the first Godzilla film in 2014 is completely non-existent in this film. This is yet another attempt at an MCU movie by Warner Brothers. Flat out. Every single action scene ended with a joke. Every single serious moment ended with a joke. They literally had specific characters to shoot out jokes this whole fucking film. Oh my god, this one annoying ass character with like silver hair. He's like one of the scientist dudes. And there's this one part where they're like reading Godzilla's vitals, which I even know how they know his vitals. Like, how can you read Godzilla's heartbeat? Like, how does that even work? They never explain that. But like, the guy's like, his heart's still beating. And then Godzilla's heart stops beating. And then he goes, he's dead. Like, it's the most unserious, unemotional moment in the movie when Godzilla dies. And it's like halfway through the movie, and we clearly know Godzilla's gonna come back because it's way too early for him to die. If they really wanted to trick the audience into thinking Godzilla was dead, they would have ended the movie with Godzilla dying. When he went, like, you know, his supernova power, where he becomes like lava and shit, where he has that like lava power and he's fucking doing a huge explosion to kill King Ghidorah and essentially melt King Ghidorah. And I talked to my friend who's the big Godzilla fan after the movie about that power, and he was extra pissed because when Godzilla uses that power, Godzilla dies, you know? Like, that's the moment where Godzilla usually dies, is when he's using that power at the end of this movie. But of course, Godzilla doesn't die because we already killed him off earlier in the movie, so you can't kill him again. So it was just really dumb to have Godzilla die in the middle. You should just have him die at the end. When he killed King Ghidorah, you know, have Godzilla, you know, sacrifice himself by killing King Ghidorah with his new power. And that would have been a nice little cliffhanger ending to the movie, you know? Godzilla's dead. That's the end of the movie. That would have been way better than what we got. And these fucking family that we had to follow around the whole movie. The dad made no sense. He was a fucking wildlife photographer. And the only reason that he's in the movie is because his wife invented a sonic machine that could communicate with the monsters. And he kind of knows how it works. Even though he can't build it, he knows how it works. And that's why he's brought along. And the whole time, he's like, we have to kill these monsters. But then he keeps flip-flopping, you know, because King Ghidorah's loose. So he's like, oh, we have to get Godzilla to kill King Ghidorah. And it's like, he's useless. Like, what skill does he have? Like, it doesn't make any sense why he's in the movie. He's literally just there to explain what's happening. And they barely do a good job of doing that. And I have to agree with the comic movie marks again. That moment near the end where they're driving through Boston and the parents are arguing with each other, and then the soldier goes, "Man, if I was living with you guys, I would run away from home." And then they stop the car and the parents go, "Home." Like, that's where they know where the kid is, because they're looking for the kid in the scene. And like, they don't think to go to their house. Like, it takes that for them to think that. And again, why is the kid going to their house? Like, what? Like, the city's being destroyed. Like, why would you? Like, I'm gonna go home, like, and hide in my house. Are you serious? And then they actually get to the house and it's destroyed, and the kid lives because he hopped in the bathtub. Like, that's why the kid lived, because he hopped in the bathtub. It's just like, it's so ridiculous. And you never get the satisfaction of seeing the mother die, because she's the reason King Ghidorah's loose. She's the reason the world's being wrecked by monsters right now. And you never get the satisfaction of seeing her die. She's the villain of the movie. She wants to kill off the majority of the population of the planet with these monsters, and she hopefully thinks that Godzilla could kill King Ghidorah and the other monsters and set the world back to, a new balance, It's just so stupid. And the military was right the whole time. The military at the beginning of the movie's like, we should kill these monsters while they're dormant and haven't done anything yet. And that's clearly the right thing to do. That's clearly the best thing to do. But no, you let this mother who's like crazy obsessed with these monsters, you let her in charge of it, and she lets them all loose. Like, it's the one time in movie history where the military is 100% right. Like, they are dead on. They need to kill the monsters before they wake up. Like, that's exactly what they need to do right now. And it's like one of the only times I've adamantly agreed with the military in a movie. It's like, I don't know if that was like intentional to make us like see that the military is right sometimes, like, I don't know if that was intentional or if it was just really bad writing. But it might have been bad writing, because the director of this movie also wrote the script, and I looked up his IMDb, and his biggest claim to fame is X-Men 2. He wrote the movie for X-Men 2, and he directed some other movie I can't think of right now. And that's essentially it. His filmography is very small, and he got to make this Godzilla King of Monsters movie. And I'm just like wondering, why the fuck did they keep Garth Edwards to direct this? I'm sure Garth Edwards could have made a better movie than this. Why did they kick him off? What does Hollywood have against Garth Edwards? I don't get it. Godzilla 2014 is far better than this movie. It's not even close, guys. Like, Godzilla 2014 is the best American Godzilla film ever. Ever. It's better than most of the Japanese Godzilla films, because they treated Godzilla with such a seriousness, and they made the film like a film, like they were going for a fucking Oscar, Like, remember Bryan Cranston performance in the first third of that Godzilla film? That was way better than any performance in any Godzilla film ever. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to stay on that track? Why wouldn't you want to keep making films like that? I don't get it. You instead want to pander, and you want to make MCU jokes, and you just want to fill the movie with, mindless action that has no build-up and no reason to give a fuck about the action. This Godzilla film, King of Monsters, is a bad movie. Straight up. Like, I have no desire to rewatch this. I probably would rewatch a fan edit that cut out all the human parts, because I swear to God, the humans in this King of Monsters movie were worse than Godzilla in 1998 with Matthew Broderick. That movie, the humans were better in that movie than they were in this new one. I swear to fucking God. But just utter disappointment. The worst film I've seen this year, and I've seen Endgame. That film was pretty bad, but this is like way worse, because I was expecting so much more. I was expecting a true sequel to that 2014 movie, and we didn't get that. We instead got a more retarded version of King Kong Skull Island. And King Kong Skull Island was already pretty dumb as a movie. Like, the movie itself had just dumb writing, and you were only there for the action, and I could deal with that. But I couldn't deal with it for Godzilla King of Monsters. They stopped trying. They're just trying to make MCU-like movies now, and it's fucking pathetic. Warner Brothers has zero faith in themselves to actually make a good movie anymore. Garth Edwards was clearly the better director. His Godzilla film is clearly better, and you went this direction because why? Because MCU movies make money. That's literally the only reason why this new Godzilla film is such shit and has such shit writing. Because they have zero faith in actually making a good movie. But yeah, just utter disappointment. I feel bad for Chris Wan because this is like, he's a big Godzilla fan. I'm a big Godzilla fan. And there's just like no reason to rewatch this movie. There's no reason to ever watch this film again. It has nothing to it. There's no weight to it. There's no emotion in the film. It's a completely dead film. That's what it is. I was really struggling to stay awake for most of the film. Thank God we had the D-box seats and they kept shaking. That's the only reason I stayed awake, was because the seats were shaking. That's the only reason. But God, I cannot get over how bad the movie was. But yeah, that's it for now. Comic Movie Marks were kind of underselling how bad this was. This is really bad. I'm surprised it got like a 40% on like Rotten Tomatoes. It deserves like a 12%. That's how bad it is. And if you think Game of Thrones has bad writing, go watch this fucking movie. You know? Then you're going to have a lot of appreciation for Game of Thrones. But anyway, that's it for now. Comment below. Let me know what you thought of Godzilla. Is this really the direction people wanted? Are these the kind of films people fucking want? Because if it is, I'm done watching films. Like, this is fucking crazy. That these are the best we can get now. This is like MCU light films. This is like the best we can fucking get now. It's so disappointing and disgusting. I never want to see a film like this again. I'm so done with it. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.